In this video, I'm going to live analyze a former student's slice of life pitch. Over here on the left side of my screen, I've got the anatomy of a pitch pulled up, as well as the rubric, which we'll get to. Over on the right is that student pitch, so let's get started. You'll notice that at the very top of the pitch is the publication address with a very specific editor. Now, most pitches are realistically going to be sent via email, so you're probably never going to include this. But the idea behind me requiring you have this for the assignment is that you know where you're pitching, you have a specific publication in mind, and you've done some research on that. So here's that specific publication address. Here's Dear Ms. Kennedy, so it's addressed to a specific editor. You would never send a pitch that says, to whom it may concern, or to the editor. You want to know who your audience is, so that's very important. Here's the first paragraph. Sometimes a sandwich is more than just a sandwich. When you're hungry, a sandwich gets you by for a few hours. When strangers come together to make 1,000 sandwiches for those in need, a sandwich becomes something bigger. Imagine a church basement on a Sunday afternoon full of men, women, and children, elbow deep in grape jelly and chunky peanut butter, laughing and talking and simply being together, united under a single cause. This is community. Right? So this is a great hook. The best pitches you'll see here, the best pitches begin like the best stories, and this is a hook and not a personal introduction. Pitch suicide is you sending an email, just being like, hello, my name is my name, and I would like to write some stories for you. You just want to launch in as if you were writing a great story in your pitch. So that's this paragraph. And it does more than just hook in and provide some scene and launch into the story and really put the reader in the atmosphere of the future piece. It also starts to hint already at the idea of theme, this idea of community, right? So over here in the anatomy of a pitch, we've got the address. It's addressed to a specific editor. It opens with a hook. And then it starts to provide context, characters, and themes. This idea of community begins to predict theme. The second paragraph of the pitch zooms back a little and introduces some characters and some context. So, since 2011, Zev Barnett of the Peanut Butter Plan has done this. On February 28th, the Peanut Butter Plan will host another event where lots of people will get together. So here is that context, the characters, and the idea of community and helping one another. For the third paragraph, we zoom out even farther to get the logistics over here in the anatomy of the pitch of what's the pitch and for what section, why now, what else written, why are you the best person to write it. So for your give back department, there's a specific section. I propose a 1,000-word slice of life piece. So this is very important that you literally pitch a story. So many students forget this. They just start writing about their idea and they just write as if they're gonna write the story and they never literally ask permission. Sort of like putting the cart ahead of the horse. Remember to do this, to say, I would like to write a story of a specific length for you. Here's, I have helped Zev in the past and have access to him all day on the 28th in order to not only get his perspective, but also observe the event and interact with volunteers. Zev has agreed to allow me to ride along with him, and I believe this piece will attract a similar target audience as other pieces you have published. There's a lot going on in this paragraph in addition to the actual pitch. There is a little bit of why are you the best person to write it, which seems to be this writer has some context. Now, of course, there's probably a conflict of interest here, or there might be, that's not discussed, which the writer should probably explain of, I've helped Zev in the past, but we're not friends, for example. Ignoring that, though, there is sort of a justification for why this writer may be the best person to write it. There's also guaranteed access that's explained, so that's over here in the anatomy, demonstrates guaranteed access. So the writer has already talked to this character. The character has agreed to let them ride along, so the editor can trust that this story can happen. The writer's not saying, oh, my plan is to contact Zev and ask if it's okay, and then I want to learn about his life. Like, that would not be concrete enough, but this is. Finally, this paragraph ends with some understanding of the publication and other stories that this publication has run. There's no faster way to piss off an editor than to pitch a story that publication would never run. Editors have delicate egos just like you do, and you will wound them if you have no idea what sort of story they like or what story they're going to run. So referencing these two stories is a great way of saying, I'm familiar with your publication. So this last paragraph is a little bit more of some context, but it also does this really wonderful thing of quoting the character. And what this quotation does is it subtly says, I've already spent time with this character. I've done some pre-research, and this is a story that can happen, and a story that I know is going to happen, and I know what it's going to be about. It's going to be a little difficult for all writers to be able to get that sort of access in advance, but that is the best case scenario. Once again, that's evidence of pre-research and access, both those things being important. Finally, there's the thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. This doesn't include contact information. Presumably, if you send via email, your email address is there, but it never hurts to provide a phone number or more explicit contact information. So a couple closing thoughts here, scrolling down to the rubric to take a look at everything in there. It pretty much mirrors the anatomy, includes address, editor section, personal contact information. Most of the points I would award there, though the student didn't include his contact information. Opens with a hook, check. Provides context, introduces character, explains reporting, nut graph and theme. So explaining the reporting, saying he's going to go to this event and he's going to watch these people, that's there. The nut graph is this idea of this is a story about a guy who does this peanut butter event that helps the community. And then there's this theme that is this idea of it's really about community coming together. So I think that happens pretty well. It literally pitches a story to a specific publication, section, and length. Provides news peg. So a news peg is why now, is the timeliness of it. And I think that that's implied with they're hosting another event in the coming weeks. Awareness of prior coverage. This is one place where I would probably ding this writer. Presumably something has been written about the peanut butter plan before. If this is a guy who's doing this great thing in Denver, somebody's covered it. If not, that is especially relevant to editors. So awareness and mention of prior coverage, that needs to be in a pitch. Explains why he's the best person to write it, check. Guaranteed access, check. Pre-research, check. It's organized according to the anatomy guidelines, so you want to think of this anatomy of a pitch as a specific order for the most part, and I think this pitch does it. And is proofread and professionally written, also check.